A'udhu billah shaitan rajim. A'udhu billah shaitan rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Rabbik Firli. May God forgive us for the sins that we're conscious of and the sins we're not. Ihtana Sirat al-Mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path. Alright, so hello everyone. I will just be talking about an idea. You don't have to listen, but you can if you like to, and the content engages you. So, just to context this, that I am Muslim, but I also believe that the source code found in the Holy Quran is also the source code that will archaically revive. Sorry, not will, it has. Pretty much I'm telling you, anytime you hear me use the term the system admin, I'm pretty much considering existence as a system and God a system admin, and the system admin is not limited to the system because it created it. So anyways, you see, today something interesting occurred for me. See, there is external interesting things that happen and there's internal interesting things. And an internally interesting thing happened for me. I was standing somewhere and just this idea, I'm not taking this to like thinking about the game and its consequence and all that, I'm just saying, for a moment I thought like this expression, it's like you got to deal with the hand that you've been dealt. There was something about that expression that was lingering in my mind, and for a moment I was like, what choice does the species have in regards to the hand that it has been dealt? Then I thought about this hand, this opportunity the species has been given, or these cards the species has been given to play, are in some sense the historic opportunity of our time. So it's as if we are born in 2000, we're alive in 2025. Like that's the historic hand we're given. We weren't given the historic hand of being born in the year let's say 2425, 2525, right? Or to be in some sense born in the year like 1525. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? I'm saying that it's like we have to accept the hand we've been dealt. And to me, it occurred that the human psyche finds itself in a position where it's like, what do I look at? Do I look at what's happening in the simulation, or do I look beyond the simulation and through the simulation? And for me, just this idea of accepting the hand you've been dealt is a very powerful view. I don't want to be on camera. All right. Where I'm getting to is a simple notion. It's the idea that we choose to be interested by what the system is, or we reject the system. Pretty much human beings open their eyes and you are accepting your life or you are rejecting your life. Now, I'm thinking about this approach that you can't see, every person has been given a hand in the sense that every person has a different DNA and a different code. And you as a human being, where you're starting from, you require to accept the known and the unknown variables to your moment. What does that mean? That means you know what you've done in the past and you know what you are now. But if you don't accept these, how can you know who you are in the future? The importance of accepting now is to enter the future. It's something that the New Age community got all wrong, that they thought, the here and now was a place of non-duality. There is a system admin here. There is a unique situation that has been created. It's a simulating testing zone. There's a divine surveillance state. The higher power watches us as we function. At the same time that we function, pretty much we see us, the simulated, and we see the original, the higher power. Like, that's the fundamental relationship of intelligence. Now, the core relationship. Now, when we look at the domain of man, when we look at the kingdoms of humanity, we see that it's still kingdoms. It is not the kingdom of humanity. To in some sense be like, you don't understand that you are biological royalty. That anybody who has ever wanted to feel like a nobleman, like a royal person, just go beside lesser animals, lesser species. Man is obviously superior to intelligences he finds in his world. It is not too far-fetched of an idea to consider that there is an intelligence superior to man. Now, the problem that brings is that how does man interpret the superior? It's like saying, how do you prepare for the future when you don't know the future? So this is the fascinating challenge to the human experience. You see, this lecture, from one angle, we're in God's world. We are in the system being administered by the system admin. From another angle, we're like, okay, that's the macro. We look at the micro situation of humanity, and the micro situation of humanity is a species that feels it's missing out on its collective expression. You see, I am one person speaking about an advanced civilization. Imagine 8 billion people started speaking about an advanced civilization. Imagine human beings became so advanced that they could immediately discriminate and discern between what is inner realm reality and what is outer realm reality, and how there's many probabilities in the outer realms, in the inner realms. In the outer realms, there's few. You know, there was a scene in Avengers Endgame where Doctor Strange looks at Iron Man and says, if I tell you what happens in the future, it's not going to happen. And then there's this scene where Tony Stark looks at, in some sense, Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange moves his finger as if, like, from one angle, he's like, okay, destiny, it's like, Reality doesn't have time to react. It's as if it's like, do you understand? It's like he held it for the last second to tell Iron Man. Or by telling Iron Man through his finger, by making him know this is the reality, he in some sense actually failed the reality. So it could be that what do you call it? Doctor Strange gave into his ego communicating to Iron Man, and in actuality it's a parallel verse where they failed. But anyways, where I'm going with this, you're a member of the human species. You do not know this and you do not feel this now because civilization is not advanced right now, but you are an advanced organism, and due to the nature of your intelligence, you have a responsibility. That means I want you to imagine all the things you're doing in your life, all your responsibilities throughout the day, and I want you to just ask, what is my responsibility to my species? What is my responsibility to the world? And what is my responsibility to the higher power, the original power, if we're simulated beings? You see, so many people and, intelligent people online, I see it in podcasts and whatnot, they've caught on to this obvious, like it's very obvious when you notice it, kind of like the world is simulated. Now they're thinking, okay, how do I get out of a simulation? But they don't understand the purpose of the simulation is to, I shouldn't say purpose, but it's like the way you pass, if reality was a simulation, the way you transcend this simulation is by noticing what created it. That means if a character in a fiction novel wants to exist outside of the novel, it must contact that which is outside of the novel. So it ends up being the author. So I'm saying, imagine your characters in a story. Religion is telling you, establish a relationship directly with the author. The author is not a character in the story because the author's expression is seen everywhere. That means, let's say God created a squirrel, God created a human being, God created an angel. God created angels out of light. God created jinn kind out of a smokeless flame. God created man out of clay, out of content. Your responsibility in this life is based on how aware you are in this life. When you look at a young child, you cannot expect it to advance humanity because it is becoming acquainted with how it's human. But when you look at a human being that's lived more than 30 years on this planet, you're like, okay, where is that greater responsibility for the great legacy of your species? Do you understand? Like there's human activities that should be happening that are not happening. What that means is human beings, they're living out throughout the day, and then they're settling down at night. Okay? But what it is that it's based on the projects you have. I want you to think you're in Japan and you're being overworked. So what does that mean? That means you need to classify the various activities you're doing. Okay? It's as if different projects are happening simultaneously. I need to drink some water, guys. It's like bottles are a genius, method of like transporting liquids. At the same time, turtles are like, yo, what did you just say? See, I'm pretty much saying the species could have been dealt a different hand. We could have had a prophet that was alive right now, for example. We could have had advanced super intelligent computers right now. We could have had figured out the health problem of the species by now. We could have been in a world where the higher power had a more visible presence. You know, we could have been in a world where the human being had an incredible awareness in all the ways it is present, for example. But this is the hand we're dealt. So what I'm trying to say is that I, as a human being, had to accept the the hand I was dealt in being alive in this era in history. And I also have to accept all of you who are alive in 2025, my whole species. I have to accept that this is what it is now. Even though it is inefficient, and in my inner realms I see probabilities of more advanced ways civilization can function. You see, people don't realize communities are developed out of care. That means it's a type of intelligence, like somebody who cares for life. They have a unique sort of intelligence. Somebody who cares for their species has a unique sort of intelligence. Somebody who only cares for themselves has a kind of intelligence. You think I haven't seen narcissists in this reality? Pretty much every human being is starting in their own simulated domain of meaning. And they try to expand their domain until they realize their inner life isn't necessarily the outer life. See, I'll give you the example. If I tell you, imagine that you're doing a backflip, that's an activity done in your inner life. That means your body could be not doing it, but in your mind you're doing it, right? So we human beings, we have an inner life and an outer life. It's one life, but I'm saying there's angles to it. Now the species has to accept its outer life. Like, I can't expect flying cars to be here right now when we haven't even created laws for the sky. Can you imagine in the future they're like, sorry sir, you've reached your sky usage limit. I'll be like, let me fly, man, let me fly. You know, there's sci-fi stories of like superheroes saving civilization. Like, that's all right, that's kind of cool. But then there is like the stories of like the emergence of an advanced technology to the individual. So right now, we human beings, we don't have floating technology yet. We don't have anti-gravity rooms. You can't come at the end of the day and jump in the air and that's like your bed and you just sleep in the middle of the air in your room, right? You don't need to even get a bed, right? We haven't entered that future. We haven't entered that future where we could wear, like, let's say watches, or I don't know, something. We could, like, the technology gets discovered, right, and invented where it's like we're in our room and we can float in our house to grab something from the top of the shelf. It doesn't have to be like flight, like Superman freaking trembling the earth as he jumps up. Like, it doesn't have to be like that, but I'm saying you can envision that what externally the species can do exponentially expands what we can do in the inner realms. Like right now in 2025, we don't have flying cars, but in our minds, it's a very simple thing to fathom them, to imagine them. Do you understand? For me, it was simple to imagine sky cities simply because I gave so many talks on balconies. So the species has to accept the hand that it's dealt. And here's the fascinating thing about accepting. When you accept something, then you can access it. Do you know, for example, this is even possible in relationships. If you don't accept someone, you cannot in some sense understand them. You understand? It's kind of like saying, all right, granted, every human being is like, tunneling through a story towards reality, towards truth. But if it's like a simulated being, if it doesn't take the simulation seriously, then it's left the original to be serious. If you take this world seriously, you don't take the divine seriously. If you take the divine seriously, you don't take this world so seriously. So the true understanding of the nature of the being seems to have a quality that surpasses actually externally what's there. Some people stare at a sky in 2025 and they're like, I just see clouds. And then there's some people who look in the sky in 2025 and they're like, in 2225, I see sky cities in the air. I mean, it's longer than that, but you see, it's the emergence of collective honor for fascinating co-creations that the species will do. What needs to happen is you need to become an advanced human. That means you need to have the most advanced view on the human. And you need to go and collaborate with other advanced beings. Until you realize the most important collaboration is with the system admin higher power, then the most important thing is your species. That means, what do I care for after I've cared for myself, my family, my friends, let's say the groups I'm involved in, my work and all this? It's like, what after I've cared for that? Well, guess what? There's 8 billion others. The other day I was walking and I just had this feeling that, like, if me and my brother were walking on the street and somebody attacked him, I would immediately, resolve the situation, step in. And then I thought, why if I see somebody else that I don't know, and if something happens to them, I don't have the same feeling as I have for my sibling? And I realized that it's a way I'm holding the value of the moment. That means you can see humans as honorable comrades in the same simulation, or you can see them as unpredictable chaos generators. But regardless, to me, there is an organization to how the system moves it all. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. I'll end it here. There's a lot of sound coming from outside. There's more to say. 23 minutes doesn't give this lecture justice, but I'll make this part 1, I guess. And part 2 hopefully will find itself. Thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds, the one and only system admin. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path. Ultimately, we are beings present in a world. The world has been created, therefore the world has been simulated. Because we haven't always been here, we've been simulated too. The human being has taken the strategy of trying to contextualize reality through time, but it realizes it does not know the edge of the past and it does not know the edge of the future, even though there are theories that that edge is the same. But at the same time, the human species finds itself having various responsibilities to various levels of reality, starting from how the individual is occurring to in regards to how the individual synchronizes with the greater visions of others. And not just with others, ultimately man needs a purpose to strengthen himself in the world, and that purpose I find should be the most advanced. That means if I see a human that has an option to do the most advanced thing in all areas, I would tell them to do it. Why? Because that advancement is actually a door leading to more doors. Anyways, thank you for listening. Have a good day, guys.